donations, including the one dissenting vote back there and the man behind the curtain, my brother Ricardo, who makes all this stuff happen. My brother is actually my brother-in-law, but our way of thinking is so similar that I call him my brother. I would also like to thank the band. It's always a pleasure to make noise with my sister, who I love and respect above all other people, despite the way I treat her in public and the way she's been portrayed in some of these presentations. And also my other sister, who I also love and respect above all others. And then my other sister, Philip, who wanted to sleep in today, but my mother made him come here. So, and it's nice to see all my friends there. What a surprise to see the bunch of my childhood friends from the area. I'm looking forward to seeing and talking to you all afterwards. I think what I meant. I'm a computer genius. Oh, I would also like to thank my mother. When she first asked me if I would do this, I thought she was asking me because she was proud of me. But then as I thought it over, I thought, well, maybe she just wants confirmation or some kind of proof that I'm not just maybe smuggling drugs or guns or going down to Haiti to drink out of a coconut on some beach someplace. Now, one final thing. I have a light pen here. It's got the high beam and a low beam, and it has sentimental value. I'm going to employ it during this presentation, even though I may not need it. But I'd just like to use it. I got this at a secondhand medical supply shop in Haiti, and it has, like I said, the two options. And so if anybody dozes off, I can hit the medical beam. It'll bore right through a person's eyelid, through their retina, down the optic nerve, and into the sleep center of the brain, where I can disturb your circadian rhythm, stimulate the snoring impulse, or cause you to sleepwalk or talk in your sleep. And that would be very embarrassing. I'm the only one allowed to be embarrassed during my presentation. So, without further ado, we will get into a typical mission trip. This is, I've compiled a number of slides from, I've been to Haiti maybe 9 or 10 times. So, so I just mixed together a number of slides to try to depict a typical mission trip. So, depending on what kind of work we're going to be doing or what missionary we're going to see, we will load up, if we have 20 people, we will load up 40 of those bags with, we've taken ceiling fans, and we tear them, we buy them at Home Depot, take the motors out, pack them into a bucket like that, and then seal it up, and then take blades, put them separately, and then we'll get those close to 50 pounds as possible, and then we'll load those up the night, well, maybe a week before. And my first trip, I was new to the church, and so I missed a couple of the meet and greets, and the meet and greets are just like it sounds. You get to know the people that you're going to be going with, and because I was new to the church, I didn't know a lot of the people, and they'll say, well, tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of icebreakers. What's your favorite kind of music? Have you been convicted of any felonies or misdemeanors? That kind of thing. And then the night that night we left, we met at a church parking lot, and we loaded the 30 or 40 bags into two huge vans, and we set off for New York City. And so I climbed into the back of the van, and I introduced myself to a girl that I hadn't met, and I said, my name's Alan. She said, she took her tissue, moved it to the other hand, and said, Cindy. And then for the 3-hour trip to New York City, she coughed and sneezed. And then we waited for our flight, and we started to board. And I was walking down the middle aisle. I looked up at row 23, and I looked at my boarding pass, and I saw one empty seat in the middle, and I saw Cindy at the window seat. And I said, oh, what's the chance of us flying together to Haiti? So there was 3 more hours with her. And
that they could not diagnose a couple months before that?
Oh, well, when we got to Haiti, then there was only one major airport, and kind of a mad scramble for the one to get the bags around the one carousel. And then we got out into the hot sun, and somewhere I'd been separated from my water bottle, and we stood waiting for the missionary. He called ahead and said that he got stuck in traffic, and we loaded these into the 2 cattle trucks that Haitian drivers had. They were there on time, but so we stood in the hot sun, and I said to that girl, I said, well, I really regret being separated from my water bottle. And she said, oh, here, you can have some of mine. And it wasn't the same girl. And so I just held it up like that and gave it a squirt. And I handed it back to her and said, thanks. And I said, trying to make small talk, I said, is this your first mission trip? And she said, oh, no, I just got back from Uganda 2 months ago. I had to come back because I was sicker than I've ever been in my life, and they never did figure out what was wrong with me. And she said, do you want some more water? I said, I think that'll do for me. So at that point, I thought, well, I'm never going to get out of this country alive, and it's going to be my teammates that do me in. So here's a map of and I promise not to do this. That always annoys me whenever a presenter does that, so I'll try to keep that to a minimum. But we started here in central Pennsylvania around Harrisburg, and either go to Baltimore or JFK. And then we fly down there. Right here is Haiti, Cuba on the to the west, Puerto Rico. I can pronounce it that way, but my sister can't because she can't roll her R's. As far as she had to change her major in her first year in college from being a Spanish major. And so here's a close-up of Haiti. And now if you use your imagination, here's Port-au-Prince, this is where we fly into. If you use your imagination, the geography resembles, oh, here's the Dominican Republic, home of Miss Pollock. But if you use your imagination, Haiti is kind of shaped like an old man with a big nose and a long chin and a lot of vessels in his head. And if you don't have an active imagination, allow me to demonstrate. And if today was Communion Sunday, I could demonstrate the island of Ghana. Proper way for down, but we'll make that more realistic on the Communion Sunday. So we back up just one. So like I said, this is about a 3.5-hour flight, and I promise not to do this, but somehow I need to represent the turbulence in the Bermuda Triangle, and fly into the only major airport in the country in Port-au-Prince, which is here about the location of the third molar in the mandible. And we have, I'll introduce you to the missionaries soon. We have one older girls' orphanage somewhere over here. And sorry about that, but I'm just not quite sure where it is. And then we will usually spend a day there, drop off several of the bags. We also take, we have about 30 girls in the big girls orphanage, and about that many down in the southern orphanage, and about 20 boys. So all the sponsors who have the girls or the children's pictures on their paper fill up a bag like this, gallon bag, with Tootsie Roll Pops and tablets, pencils, socks, underwear, pretty little dresses. They usually have a list of what all the girls want a secret locket. And so we just fill those up in a couple of those. That usually takes about 2 or 3 of those canvas bags. And letters from home, pictures of the sponsor's family. And then we'll do the same thing at the down on that end. We'll have the girls write something, and we'll send back pictures to give to the sponsors and back in the States. But so we'll usually spend a day at the big girls orphanage, and then we'll drive along the coast there. That's where the epicenter of the earthquake was, just a few miles west of Port-au-Prince. And so I'm sorry about that, but somehow I have to represent the concentric circles of the temblors, the aftershocks. And then this area here is this starts to become very mountainous. And I'm going to have to do that one more time. And I have a short video of it. To show you how mountainous the country is between the two cities. Let's get a little airplane noise here. So about as high as the summit mountain, with more slope, I would say. And when we first left Port-au-Prince, on my very first trip, this gentleman was our interpreter and truck driver. And my first trip, we loaded all those burlap bags into this vehicle, and I got in the back, and all the other missionaries went in another vehicle, and the missionaries' air-conditioned Land Rover. Somehow I got stuck in the cattle truck with 3 teenage girls. And so I was in this corner, the 2 girls on this side, and me and another girl on that side. And as soon as we got into traffic, traffic is always like this. You can sit for an extended period of time, and then you can go up to maybe 25, 30 miles an hour. And a little street boy came out, and he just chased us down like a cheetah coming after a water buffalo, and he jumped up and he grabbed on and he held on to that screen, and he said "Dala Grangu," which means hungry. So that was, I thought I need to remember that word. I might be able to use that myself later on. and he just looked at the girls, and there was nothing we could give them. We didn't have any dollars. And the only thing you could get through there would be like celery or string cheese or a Twizzler, and we didn't have any of those. And he just kept lifting up his shirt, and I said, "Buddy, I sympathize with you. All I had was a bag of peanuts on flight 406 American Airlines, but there's just nothing we could do." And he just hung on, and one of the girls, they just looked down at the floor, and I saw a tear go down to one girl's cheek, and I thought, well, as the adult, I need to take charge here. And so I pulled off my flip-flop, and I whacked his knuckles until actually, I do have a heart. I just whacked him twice. He finally jumped off of his own accord. So, but it was just, it's just the thing that you see as you're traveling along. And then as we get out of the city, I think you used to see the UN vehicles all over. I think they've left the country in the past 2 years. And then almost every home or building, this is, you see, it's not inhabited, but there you see, and I'm sorry about that, but I need to show that this is coiled razor wire. If it was straight, I would just go like that. But I got so that's everywhere. And this vehicle is called a tap tap, which means quick quick. And you'll see people hanging off of them. They usually have a Bible verse or a saying. This says God bless something. I can't make out what that is. And so they'll usually have a Bible, eternal mercy, and then down on the doors there'll be a soccer star, or maybe a rapper, Lil Wayne, or somebody like that. Very colorful. That one is actually kind of plain. This is commonplace to see something like that. And this, the missionary broke my camera on the first day, trying to do me a favor by carrying up all our backpacks, and he threw them on the cement floor, and I heard a clunk, and I thought, well, I won't get any more pictures out of that camera. So I grabbed, we were in a van, and I grabbed the girl who had that disease. I said, can I have your camera? And then, so I took this picture right before he turned to the right, and I was trying to figure out if this is maybe the old 1960s Honda Dream model, or maybe it's flatbed transportation, or maybe this is just the Haitian version of a camper, stripped down camper. And this is a dump truck. Now these for a dump truck, this gets surprisingly good gas mileage. However, if the front end is not perfectly in alignment, they do leak oil, as you can see right there. And that one also has a sunroof, extra little feature there. This is a toy I saw in the children's orphanage. This is just a view of the mountains. There's a book a doctor wrote called Mountains Beyond Mountains, and that's just that airplane flight that I showed you from the two cities, which are only as the crow flies, maybe 25 miles. The little puddle jumper airplane, 6-person, it takes 18 minutes. It can take 3 to 5 hours, depending on how many donkeys are in the way, or rock slides, or just whatever you encounter on these roads as you're heading down to the other city. And this struck me as unusual at the time. We were driving by, and you notice the rebar. Almost every home has rebar sticking up, and that is because if the government thinks that you're still working on the house, and if you don't have rebar, then they come and they assess you, and they'll tax you. So that's why almost every home has rebar sticking. Now, not every home has a goat, and some of these things on my first trip, they stuck in my memory, and some of them were a little bit troubling. And I thought if I could get them down on paper, then I could get them out of my mind. So, so I have just part of a travel log that I had written. This is called "What Goes Up Must Come Down," and it's just about that trip and some of the things that we had seen there. That was an actual sign. I didn't get a chance to take a picture of, but beauty salon, Nissan Sidekick pieces and accessories. It's where you can go for a muffler and a manicure. And then there was the Mercy Jesus Bar and Restaurant, Thank You Jesus Bar and Restaurant. I concluded it must have been French cuisine, since the Creole spelling of thank you is merci. But and then these big words are just saying that Haitian Creole is a blend. So it's the dominant French language of the French slave owners, and then a mixture of the West African slave languages. And so kind of a simplified grammar and syntax. And I know all this because Wikipedia told me so. and I took the photos. We passed through a residential area. We were flying and bouncing by. The dark spot is an actual goat. This may have been an attempt by the homeowner to keep up with the Joneses, because next door there were 3 goats on the roof. And then I did a little bit of research, and I found that there are many English phrases that derive from Haitian goat husbandry. For example, if Mr. Jones's goat was prone to wander, the neighbor might look out his window, see the goat in his yard again, and say, "Oh well, what goes around comes around." If the goat was a juvenile male, the neighbor might point in the direction of Jones's house and say, "Go west, young ram." If the goat was a particularly clumsy female, the neighbor might caution Jones not to allow it on the roof, saying that you will be sorry someday. And say the neighbor and Jones had been butting heads and locked horns over a legal matter, requiring a magistrate to intervene and award Jones' goats to the neighbor. Jones might turn to his son and say, "Boy, that neighbor gets my goats." So this concludes today's lecture on language, although we may talk a little bit about language here soon. Oh, that was it. We're done with it. Now here's some of the memorable people that I've met. Some of the missionaries and the translators and students, and we'll start out with some of the house mothers, the beautiful, loving house mothers. Well, let me show you the pictures. Whoop. Whoop. I'm sorry. I've had trouble with this PC and I think I got a couple. I think I got a slide mixed. Bear with me a minute, please. Oh, there we go. Okay. There are the house mothers. Now, I took this picture. They caution us not to take pictures because the Haitians are kind of sensitive to that. And I wanted to give, you can get a lot of mileage out of Tootsie Roll Pops in Haiti, so they'd given me some samples earlier in the day, and I wanted to kind of return the favor. But when I walked around the side of the building to where they were, back up. This doesn't have a medical beam, so this lady had a huge head of cabbage and a machete between her knees, and so as I walked around this way, I would be coming right at her, and I thought, well, that just wouldn't be gentlemanly, and how do you allow a lady to be ladylike when she's got a machete and a cabbage between her knees? So I left the Tootsie Roll Pops on the table inside, and probably the girls got them, but anyway, that's this picture of two of the house of the cooks. This is the girl that I first started to sponsor. I think back then it was $20 a month, and that paid for some toiletries and her tuition at school, because there's no public school, so price was kind of cheap, kind of low back then for tuition. It's gone up to about $60 a month to sponsor a child. But she had come by boat, and they didn't really know what happened to her parents. So a lot of the kids are like that. You just don't know where they came from. And they said she was one of the sickliest. And how I first got involved was that I'd gone to that church to hear a renegade missionary, which you'll see here pretty soon. He had gone down and gave a presentation that was much more professional than this. And he showed some of the girls. He said, if you're interested in sponsoring, it's $20 a month. And so I did that for about a year, and then I saw him again, and he said, if anybody's interested in going down and actually seeing them in person, we're putting together a trip. So I thought, yeah, I might as well go down and see her. So then after I did it once or twice, then I kind of felt obligated. And so when you don't see a little girl for 6 months, she grows pretty quickly. And there she is holding some dried blueberries in a care package like this from the Carlisle Walmart. And now she's old enough now that she reminds me of my daughter when she was 14 or 15, that now I'm just an embarrassment to her. But she still likes to drive blueberries in the Tootsie Roll Pop. This is Pastor Abraham. He is he's the founder of the 800 student school and the 60